Karma Ura was born into a humble farming family in the Himalayas. His parents, a farmer and a homemaker, instilled in him the values of simplicity and resilience. However, a devastating glacial flood destroyed their farmland, plunging his family into hardship and shattering his peaceful childhood. Seeking solace, Karma's father turned to Buddhist practices, a path that profoundly influenced Karma's own reflections on happiness and purpose. Driven by a desire to understand the true essence of happiness, Karma pursued dual degrees in psychology and medicine at the University of Cambridge. He believed that uncovering the mysteries of the mind and well-being could provide answers not only for himself, but also for others. However, as he neared the completion of his studies, Karma received a devastating diagnosis: terminal cancer. With no cure available at the current level of medical advancement, he tirelessly researched and attempted to develop a remedy. Yet, despite his relentless efforts, all his attempts ended in failure, leaving Karma in despair. In a dimly lit room, Karma sat quietly, staring at the hospital report in his hands. The diagnosis read, terminal cancer. The cruel words seemed to mock all his efforts. He felt a deep sense of despair, as if falling into a bottomless abyss. What's the point of living? He kept asking himself. One day, Karma stumbled upon an article claiming that there was a temple in Thailand that could change one's destiny. Already consumed by hopelessness, a wild thought emerged in his mind. He would travel to Thailand and end his life there, making his despair known through a powerful explosion. Karma arrived in Thailand and visited the temple, intending to find a serene spot to bury his pain forever. However, before he could execute his plan, an elderly monk emerged from the temple. The monk's gaze fell upon him, as if piercing through his very soul.
My child, your heart carries too many heavy burdens,
Monk said gently. Karma froze. He hadn't uttered a single word, yet the monk seemed to read his mind and understand his suffering. Out of curiosity and an inexplicable pull, he chose to sit down and listen. The monk explained that life's hardships don't come without reason. Everything, he said, was the result of karma.
Your current suffering may be the consequence of seeds sown in the past. But remember, karma is not punishment. It's an opportunity to learn.
Karma scoffed.
And my cancer? Is that karma too? A punishment?
The monk smiled and replied,
Perhaps it's a reminder, urging you to let go of your attachments and find your true self.
The monk then began to speak about reincarnation and the cycle of life. He explained that every life is a journey, and the choices made in one life influence the starting point of the next.
But you are still alive,
He continued.
and that means you still have a chance to change your karma, to plant seeds of goodness for yourself and others.
As Karma listened, his eyes welled up with tears. He had never considered that he still had the power to change. That day, Karma left the temple with a renewed sense of strength. He abandoned his original plan and decided to face life head-on. He resolved to seek every possible treatment, no matter how slim the odds, and to explore new opportunities. Even if his efforts proved futile, he would embrace this journey to find healing and perhaps even hope. Before leaving Thailand, Karma bought a lottery ticket and won the jackpot, fortunately. The jackpot was 6 million baht. Having this huge windfall made him confused. He didn't want to go back to his hometown to face the problem, so he decided to numb himself by enjoying the luxurious life and escape from reality. A luxurious country, Qatar became his new destination. He planned to stay here about 30 days, living an extravagant life and squander his money on glittering pleasure. His journey began at a 5-star hotel. He booked a penthouse suite with unparalleled sea views and a personal butler service for more than 30,000 baht per night. He briefly forgot about his inner pain as he sipped expensive champagne and dinner prepared by a Michelin-starred chef on his private terrace. During the day, he rented a Rolls-Royce and visited Qatar's high-end shopping mall, where he spent much money buying handmade products from luxury brands. And other day, he chartered a yacht, cruised on the Persian Gulf, and enjoyed a seafood feast prepared by a private chef. At night, he heads to a private spa for state-of-the-art beauty and massage treatments. At first, this luxurious life was like an endless dream, making Karma immerse in the satisfaction of the senses. After waking up every day, he saw a table full of exquisite breakfast in front of him, and outside the sea view suite was the blue sea and blue sky of the Persian Gulf. He traveled between cities in a Rolls-Royce without having to consider any expenses. The butlers and waiters around him served respectfully, and every detail showed the ultimate affluence. However, the squandering day after day did not fill his heart. One day, he was sitting by the infinity pool, surrounded by palm trees and breeze, and the waiter brought him a cocktail mixed with fine alcohol and rare fruits. He looked at the rippling blue water, but he didn't feel at all relaxed. He suddenly realized that he could no longer derive true happiness from these luxurious surroundings. He tried to find more extreme sensory stimulation, renting a helicopter to overlook the desert, attending a private party, and even chartering an entire beach to hold a fireworks show just for himself. However, after every experience, that huge feeling of emptiness floods into my heart silently, like a wave of waves. He finally realized that his life during this period was like the bottle of red wine he saw on the terrace. Although it was expensive, every sip was only a short-lived pleasure, and the rest was an empty bottle and nowhere to put it. Want. At the end of this 30 days, he stood on the private beach and recalled the words from the Thai monk. He understood that spending money on meaningless things would only take him further away from inner peace. Karma decided to end this luxurious lost journey. He has no plans to return to Bhutan, but has his sights set on a new destination. Perhaps, he thought, the answer lay not in pleasure or wealth, but in some place yet to be visited. With the remaining wealth and a heart to re-examine the world, Karma embarked on the next journey. After leaving Qatar, Karma decided to spend the rest of his newfound fortune on fleeting pleasures. This time, he chose the Netherlands, particularly Amsterdam, as his next destination, a city renowned for its freedom and openness. To him, its fame wasn't just about art and culture, but also the allure of the red light district and the legalized cannabis culture. Upon arriving in Amsterdam, Karma checked into a luxurious boutique hotel by the canals, where picturesque views awaited him from his window. Eager to explore, he ventured into the neon-lit streets of the red light district, seeking to escape reality once more. In a discreet, upscale establishment, he met Sophia, a sex worker with resilient and enigmatic eyes, unlike anyone he had encountered before. Her demeanor was calm and authentic, far from the sycophantic attitudes he had grown used to. Intrigued, Karma engaged in a long, late-night conversation with her. Sophia shared her struggles, revealing a life far from easy, but one she embraced without bitterness.
True freedom,
She said,
isn't about indulging yourself, but accepting reality and finding your path within it.
Her words struck a chord with Karma, though he didn't fully understand their meaning at the time. The next day, Karma visited a legal cannabis shop and ordered a high-potency joint, hoping to numb his thoughts. He spent the day enveloped in hazy smoke and trippy music, his mind adrift. He thought the fleeting euphoria might help him escape his emptiness, but the high couldn't last. Instead, the cannabis-induced hallucinations forced him to confront the loneliness and fear buried deep within, like a mirror exposing the raw truth. A few days later, Karma went for a walk along the canals in the early morning. The crisp air helped clear his mind. He recalled Sophia's words and reflected on his journey, beginning in Thailand. All the money he had spent, the luxurious indulgences, none of it had brought him genuine happiness. Instead, they had only deepened his sense of emptiness. Karma began to reflect deeply on his life. He realized that his past extravagance hadn't brought fulfillment, but had instead chained him further to his inner turmoil. He thought of the monks he once met, their wisdom, and the simple life he had in Bhutan. At that moment, he understood that what he truly needed wasn't fleeting pleasures, but purpose. On his last day in the Netherlands, he stood by the canals, watching the sunset's golden hues shimmer on the water. He decided to use the rest of his fortune for something meaningful, whether it was helping others or exploring paths that could truly help him grow. With a heart beginning to heal, Karma embarked on a journey to Switzerland. He didn't know what lay ahead, but this time he resolved not to seek escape, but to face himself and find the answers he had been searching for. Karma, driven by a desire to find inner peace and a cure for cancer, traveled to Switzerland, a land renowned for its breathtaking natural landscapes. He hoped this journey would offer a renewed sense of purpose in his life. Arriving in the Alps, he anticipated the serenity of snow-capped mountains and endless horizons. However, the weather abruptly changed. Dark clouds gathered, and a heavy snowfall began, blanketing the land and obscuring his view. As the cold and exhaustion set in, Karma realized he needed shelter to survive the storm. Desperately searching, he stumbled upon a hidden cave and quickly took refuge inside. The cave was silent, save for the faint howl of the storm outside. Just as Karma thought he was alone, he noticed a flickering light deeper within. Approaching cautiously, he found an elderly hermit seated by a small fire, as if waiting for someone. In a raspy yet gentle voice imbued with wisdom, the hermit said,
"Young man, I've been waiting for you."
Startled, Karma nodded and sat by the fire to warm himself. The hermit poured him a cup of tea and asked,
"Why have you come to this mountain?"
Karma, thoughtful and hesitant, finally replied,
I'm searching for a cure for cancer and seeking inner peace. But I carry a deep fear and unease in my heart, like a shadow that I can't escape.
The hermit gazed at him intently and asked a profound question.
"Do you know what it is you fear?"
Karma froze. He thought of his journey, his illness, and his questions about life and death. In a quiet voice, he said,
I fear losing everything. I fear death, and I fear never finding happiness.
The hermit smiled gently and said,
"Happiness does not come from the outside, nor can it be found by avoiding death. It has always been within you, but fear has blinded you to it."
Karma looked at the hermit, puzzled. The hermit continued,
"Imagine this, if you lost everything, what would remain?"
Karma took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He felt the warmth of the fire despite the cold, heard the storm's howl outside, and sensed the hermit's calming presence. Suddenly, he realized that even in the absence of all else, his awareness and connection to the present moment were still there. The hermit nodded in approval.
Life flows naturally. Birth and death are part of it. The best we can do is cherish each moment and embrace fear, for it is the beginning of growth.
That night, Karma opened his heart to the hermit, sharing his struggles and doubts. The hermit, with his wisdom, guided him toward understanding. Karma felt an unprecedented sense of peace and realized that happiness had always been within him. It was not something to be sought externally. When morning came, the storm had passed, and sunlight illuminated the snow-covered mountains. Karma stepped out of the cave, turned to thank the hermit, and felt deep gratitude in his heart. From that day forward, Karma no longer feared life or death, nor did he chase after external happiness. He knew now that the true source of happiness lay within,